One. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Let's see if we're literally live on YouTube yet. It is. It is. Good morning, Bree. How are you? It is live on my end. I don't know if you guys have it up where you can see it on your end, but it says that we are live over here. So good morning and good morning, everyone. How is everybody?
Good morning. Well, good afternoon for me.
Yeah, it's noon all your time, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Noon, right after church. Bree is here this morning. Bree, Gia, she has been a part of our vintage community for a while. She just got her first case in a new shop. So she is interested in hearing what we have today. That's my mama telling us she's here. Good morning. Good morning, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Well, I am excited to be back with these ladies. It's been, oh gosh, 6, 8 months longer. How long's it been?
Time flies.
A while.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just got to a point where I was like, we haven't even updated, and so much has transpired, and things are changing, and trends are changing, and all of that. And I love to come together with other resellers and other vendors in the, antique shops, if you will, because we learn from each other. Hey, John, how are you? Update, I signed up for a huge shelf unit here in Kingman, right on Route 66. That is awesome. Pam, Mama said, I ain't seen Pam in a long time.
I know. Yeah. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. So, y'all, I'm super excited. Beside me, that way, is Pam from Kibi's Collectibles.
Hello.
And then below me is Carol from My Blessed Nest. And over to the side, I feel like the Brady Bunch, is Joanne from Thrift Crazy. You guys probably have heard me say that her name changed. She was a work in progress, and now her channel. We all are, right?
Yes.
And her channel name changed to Thrift Crazy, which I think is hysterical. I love that name. I think that it's really good. Good morning, Lena. How are you from New Orleans, as they say? Now, if you notice, Dolores is not here. She is having some problems with the, I guess, the layout of her camera, and she is going to work on that, and she'll try to come in if she can. And Dolores, if you're listening, just come in and be this way. It's fine. We'll work on it. It doesn't have to be full screen. We will work on it. There's a lot of us here this morning. So I'm excited because today is just a little live chat. We're going to give you each an update about good morning, Monica, all the way from Italy this morning.
Wow.
Ooh.
Good morning. I know that, Monica, I'm interested to know if you ever got you a space. I know you want one really bad. I don't know if that's a thing over there, if they have little shops or if they're individually owned, but he's been wanting a little space. So we're each going to take turns. I'm going to let these ladies introduce themselves. If you're here on my channel and you don't know me, this is my channel. My name is Beth, and you're on Carolina Princess, Sweet Treats and Pretties. And I've known these ladies, oh gosh, probably now going on 5 years, because this is going to,
Really?
well, this is going to be my, in September is my 5th year on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I was watching y'all before I even got on. So,
Oh gosh.
yeah,
Oh.
that was, yeah. Oh, look, it's Solo. It's
She
Solo.
made
There you
it. She
are.
made it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's
That
fine.
was a
It looks
lot.
great. It was.
That was a lot.
Oh, good. John says he has subbed to all of us on the panel. Thank you so much. Bree said yes,
Thank
5
you.
years. So if I've been on coming up on 5 years. Hey, Lori, Blue Flamingo, how are you? She's in the beautiful Florida area.
Hey, Lori.
Um, so Pam, how long have you been doing YouTube?
Since 2020.
Yeah, so
Uh,
it's coming up.
well,
You're,
no, let me take that back. 2019, I think. I think 2019 because 2020, and I may have had like 100 subscribers, and then the pandemic hit, and what happened is everyone had to stay home, and you couldn't thrift, and our governor in South Carolina was like, stores are open. So I was able to get a lot of footage, and I, put videos out, and something hit, my algorithm hit, and I got a lot of subscribers. So I remember that was in 2020. So yeah, it's been since like 2019 that I've been but the past couple years I've been off a lot.
yeah,
It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
it is exhausting. It's a lot of work. Dolores will talk about that a little bit as
Yes.
well. It is a lot. Pam, one of the reasons that your thrift stores were open was because if they sold clothing, then they were considered essential.
Essential.
And so that
One of the stores I was in had a liquor license because they were previously a bar, and the owner moved her bar to a different location right before the pandemic, but they still had the liquor license, and it was applied to this shop in this space or whatever. I don't know how that all that works. So we were able to stay open because of the liquor license, because that's an
that's
essential
essential.
need.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So I was like, okay.
Yeah. So let's go to Joanne. Joanne, how long have you been doing YouTube?
I honestly can't remember. I know it's been at least 7 years.
Yeah, I was
Um,
watching you for a while. You and
yeah,
Carol.
longer than that. I know it was definitely before the pandemic, but I can't remember when I started. I believe that this coming Christmas will be like the 6th or 7th year that my daughter and I have live streamed our Christmas morning. So yeah, it's been at least 7 years for me.
Yeah. Carol, what about you?
January of 19, the one box declutter challenge, first video.
Oh,
I
What
cannot
was
hear
the year?
Carol.
You can't hear me?
No, no, I can hear you. What was the
I can
year?
January of 2019.
Oh, she said January of 2019, the one box declutter challenge. And now you've done like the 1,000 item.
Yeah, I'm still decluttering.
She posts these videos that she's like, oh, I'm in this 1,000 item declutter. And I was like, I mean, it sounds really good, but I'm going to be honest. And she said that, she will go through like shirts, her husband's shirts one day, and then she'll go through like the junk drawer one day and all of these things. And I was like, just 1,000? I could do that in,
girl, I
in
could do
this.
that in one room.
I am not done.
Well, she said she's not done, but I mean, I haven't even gotten started. So I mean, I'm downsizing. I'm working on that, y'all. I am. I've gone to half of my storage unit. I was able to downsize to half of my storage unit.
Wow.
So I mean, I'm working. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So, Dolo, you made it.
Yes, eventually.
So, Dolores, you were on YouTube, or you still are on YouTube, but you're
Yeah.
you're not posting as much right now.
No.
But you've probably been on what, 4 or 5 years too?
I think it was it the end of 2020? Because we had several lockdowns in the UK. By the time I started, we were like on season 3 of lockdown. I was like, okay, I've had enough now. I got to do something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So if you don't know, Dolores is in the UK. I am here in Texas, but from South Carolina. Pam is from South Carolina. So I met all of these people on YouTube, either in the chats or watching their videos or whatever. And and now Dolores and I, she comes and stays at my house, and, you know, so that's been fun. Pam is actually not far from family in South Carolina from me. So we finally did a meetup. I think 2 or 3 years into it, we finally
Yeah.
did a meetup, and we went thrifting, and that was so much fun. That was so much fun.
Yes.
My stepmom took us. We went to several Goodwills, and we went to the bins and all kinds of stuff. So Pam is in South Carolina now. Joanne is in North Carolina,
Raleigh.
the Raleigh area, and Carol, you're in Ohio.
Yep.
Yeah, see, I'm learning. I'm doing it. But all because of YouTube, which I think is amazing. That and I know that they've been on my channels before. Joanne's done sales. We actually we'll get into one of the things. One of the friends of Joanne's, the weathered fence post. She and her husband, Heidi and Mr. Steve has recently had an unfortunate accident at work, and he has burns. So he's been. Yeah, I'm following them, but I was already watching Heidi and Steve from Joanne's channel, and so Joanne put a call out, and then of course I picked up on it, and absolutely, I'm going to do a couple of things. Joanne's had a couple of jewelry sales already to benefit. She started a GoFundMe, because I don't know about y'all, but if you've ever had anybody in the hospital, just parking is $10 to $20 a day. And this is week 6. I think her video that I watched this morning said they're in week 6, and he's got at least 6+ months to go. So prayers for Mr. Steve and Miss Heidi, but we are definitely going to talk about that a little bit. So first, Pam, we're going to start with you. Tell us, we're talking about vintage, being a vintage curator in a booth or a cabinet or whatever in a shop. Hey, LaDonna, how are you? So tell us kind of like where you are, like what kind of spaces that you have, if you're in a shop, if you have a case. At one point, last time I saw you, you had 2 spots.
Yes. So I do have 2 spots. I have like a 10 by 10 booth in a store called Rustic Haven, and then in the same shopping center, 2 doors down, I have just a wall. Now, I don't know, Beth, if the time you were here that I had a booth, I may have, but I realized what I was selling, I could just sell on a wall. So,
had a booth.
yes, you follow data, and Beth, how we had to always follow data in school. You follow your data, and you realize, oh, okay. So I have a wall space, so I lowered my rent, and that's made me very happy. So I have 2 spaces.
From that corner space that you had a little corner space in. It's where your retro stuff was. Is that the one you went to a wall in? Because you still have your big orange space that I like so much.
I have the big orange space that's my vintage booth. And then
Yeah.
the one at B&L, remember we talked about, you thought it was more like an emporium kind of store, because I don't sell a lot of vintage there. I mean, I sell like Pokemon cards and
It's Emporium, yeah.
yeah. So that's the one that I downsized, because everything I was selling, like T-shirts, I do sell the Pokemon cards. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But okay, so I have those spaces, and we're located in, it's not even a town. Well, we're kind of right outside of Elgin, but you have to cross over the county line. We're still Elgin, according to the post office, but we're considered like a little community called Pontiac. And so it's really in a good space, because we're located beside this shop that has been there for a really long time. It's an antique store, but they've kind of morphed into more of like a home goods. Okay. Even though they still, say antique, which that's a whole nother, segment that we could talk about what the word
Yeah.
antique means anymore. Um, but I'm doing well in both spaces, very well. And if you want to know my data, I've got it for you. I'll
Pam
let
keeps
you
her
know.
data.
I'll let you
My
know.
data is a little bit more skewed than hers, but yeah, tell me a little bit. Tell me a little bit, like, because I'm interested. What made you go down from a space? Okay, so I pay rent at one space, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's $400 a month,
Okay.
but
No.
they probably do 5,000 plus dollars a day in that shop. There could be on a weekend, there could be 1,000 people that go through that shop.
Wow.
Okay.
So
We're not that
yeah,
big. We're not that big. And I will tell you, at Rustic Haven, where I have the orange wall, the bigger space, because I do the social media and I work every Monday, I'm not paying rent there.
that's a
So
good.
I'm still paying my percentage. I still have to work there 8 hours on every Monday. Sometimes it's 4 Mondays a month, sometimes it's five. It doesn't matter. It's just a kind of a flat rate because I also, again, I do the social media for them. I advertise things they want to advertise. I make posts every day and stuff like that. So, that's a good situation for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and B&L Antiques is the smaller space. Again, I'm on a wall. I'm only paying $100, and right now I'm over $400 right now that I've earned this month on, you know, again, Pokemon cards. Now I will sell enameled pins. I will sell patches, but I also will sell like Scentsy warmers. I just sold one. I sold this little vintage. I do have a couple vintage things. I've sold um, gosh, just kind of nickety knacks, American Girl dolls. I've got like a whole basket here that of American Girl doll clothes. I've got American Girl doll that I want at auction and the clothes that I'm going to put in there because you've got a lot of it's really family oriented. So, I'm doing quite well there too. So
Well, I know when people hear $100 for a wall, but honestly, y'all,
10 feet.
it that's a good price. I mean,
Yeah.
some of these booth rent, and we can talk about your space. One of my booths, I pay rent. The other one, she only wants to do consignment. It's just easier for her, less financial transactions. Really, she takes care of it, but that's a blessing. But you
Yes.
rarely will find that. Most of them, like Pam just said, are going to be, you're going to have rent and you're going to pay the house a commission.
Hmm.
So you got to take into account financially, with she talks about her data, you're talking about just the financial literacy of it, of having, okay, I have rent plus when I price my items.
Hmm.
All right, so this is a thing that one of the girl that just does consignment, she and I talked about. If she feels like it's been there for a while, because she's owned, hey Sandy, if she's owned the building for almost 40 years, right? So if I just say, okay, I double the about, like if I pay $5, I put $10 in it. Well, 30% of that, so what, $3 is already going to the house, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm down, I paid 5, so my profit is only 2. Well, if she decides to give a 10 or 20% discount, usually it's like a 10% discount because it's been there a while. I kept saying to her, you need to ask me about that, because it just depends on what I paid for the item. We call it paying up. Sometimes we
Right.
pay for an item, and there's no reason in putting the kind of items where you're only going to make $1 profit. You know what I mean? That's the time to wash it and inventory it and travel it there and back. That all has to be figured into that financial literacy and your financial plan of it. So when you hear booth rent, I so for mine, I would think that it's a little high, but that's because I'm a thrifter. So I think booth rent is a little high. But this same space, in other states is going to be $1,000, $800
Yeah.
plus commission. So
Yeah. Even within the state, like Charleston would cost me like an astronomical amount
yeah,
just
that's at
because
least
it's
$1,000.
Charleston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
well, Joanne, what about you? Are you still in one space or you have two spaces now?
Well, I call it one space, but technically it's two. They're right next to each other, and I don't have any separation between them, so it looks like one large space. But yeah, technically it is two booths, and I get charged two separate charges for each one
oh,
of the booths. So my rent monthly is somewhere $350, maybe a little
Oh, that's
more
good.
than that.
That's good.
Really good. I would never complain about the rent.
that's not bad.
They take, oh my goodness, 10%? No, I can't remember if they take 10 or 15. I think it's 10%. Yeah, it's 10%. And then they take the credit card fees, but then you get charged for them at the end of the month. So that comes out of your tally at the end of the month
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another thing that people forget
Yeah.
about tax. Are they paying the tax or are you paying the tax? Because who claims that? Like here, you pay the comptroller about any of your sales. If you collect the sales tax, then you have to report that for against your sales. But if they're paying it, they report it. So, the part about tax and the part about credit card fees, that's just another part of the financial plan that you need to look into. Some like the one that I do commission on, she takes care of the credit card fees. And I'm thinking that the one at KT, they also do. Shelly, I don't know if Shelly's watching, but she could tell you. But I think she does the credit, like at Glen Flora, she does the credit card fees and the sales tax as part of that 30% commission. So really, I'm paying all that. It's just she's taking it out of it's easier math to do it for one thing than it is for all three.
And if you're
So
the first time setting up a booth, you have to think about your displays too. Like
expensive.
bookcases. I love selling vintage clothes. So you have to think about how you're going to display those clothes. If it's just going to be on poles or if it's going to be on like a clothing rack or something. So there's other costs that you might not readily think about that you have to consider if you're just starting a booth.
Yeah, a lot of costs. So what would you say what your kind of square footage is?
I have no idea. Yes, I have absolutely no idea.
One of the places that I'm in is a 10, I want to say it's a 10 by 10. The other one is about a 10 by 15 or 10 by 20. I think it's 10 by 15. Um, it just looks way bigger. And also in one of mine, in the one in KT, I have 3 walls and they're all pegboard. That's a huge difference because that determines whether you can sell art
Uh-huh.
or what you can do
Yeah.
when you have walls. Now, my one in Glen Flora, I have a back wall and then 2 half walls, which is good because you can put things up against the wall and it's pegboard there too, but it has a ledge on both sides, so that equals like another eye level shelf. But if you don't have wall space, if it's just like in the middle of a shop and they've just, like a vendor show where you just go to a show and everybody has their canopies, you will not be hanging anything. So that's part of the thing about what are you really selling. And you have to build your own walls, which is what Joanne was talking about. Bookcases, even getting them on Facebook Marketplace or a garage sale, that's $20 to $50.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
20
Yeah.
to $50. The ones I want right now, 2 corner ones, which I want for my home, but I'm looking for my own home, and those are $50 a piece, and they're the vintage scroll corner, and I really want those, but I'm not paying $100 for shelving. I'm not to put some knickknacks on. Just not. We'll just stay with the crate. It's working for me. So, and Joanne, how long have you been in your shop?
Well, in the larger space, it's been over a year now, but I've been with Antiques at Gresham Lake. They're located in Raleigh off of Capitol Boulevard. I've been there probably 3 years now. I started in what they call a closet, which really was a closet.
Yeah.
And then I moved to a larger corner space, which was really great. And then this first of the two booths side by side that I got, that one, perfect location. It has a window, which actually half of the window now is covered up. But and it's as soon as you walk into the mall, you go
Yeah.
to the left, and I'm the very first booth there. And then the lady that was next to me had some medical problems and had to close her booth. So they offered it to me. So that's how I got the two spaces that I'm in now. And
That's good.
I will only leave when it's time for me to stop doing this because I love my
Yeah, that's
space.
a good space.
Very lucky.
And you post about your booth. I know that Pam, you just did a little. You're on TikTok now, girl.
Yes. Yes.
So, but you post it, and it goes to Instagram, and that's usually where I see it because I don't do the TikToks. I can't do all
Well,
that. I
yeah.
can't learn nothing.
Well, I've been posting on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
So it's better for me. Shorts.
So, yeah, the shorts are really good. So, if
Yeah.
Pam just did one that I totally related to because she was going back and forth in her booth, like, where do you put it? Where do you put it? You know? And I told her, I said, girl, I just spent 3 hours spinning in my booth, being like, where do I put this? Okay, if I find a spot for that, now I got to move this, and it doesn't flow. And it doesn't pay to have a little touch of the OCD when you're doing this because everything has to color block and then color flow into the next color and height and all this kind of stuff. I have friends that'll just go in and they'll just like Shelly, she can just go in and put anything out there. It looks fabulous, takes her 20 minutes. I'm in there for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Moving each little piece a half of a centimeter, trying it all different ways. So,
All day.
and I know,
All day.
Joanne, you do some videos about your booth as well.
Yeah, I do. I haven't done one in a very long time, though. But what I have done and has been kind of beneficial is a while back, I started a Facebook like business page.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I add new items into the booth, I will put them on that Facebook page.
Yep.
And that has definitely brought me some sales.
Yeah. Now her Facebook. Now, Pam, you have Facebook as well for Kibi's Collectibles.
Yes.
And I do too. No, I don't know that Cheryl and you could ever have a booth together. Although LaDonna and Cheryl's stuff in there, oh, you would definitely want to shop it because they pick some good stuff. But as far as the amount of things, and we'll talk about that too, that you need for a space or two, it's a lot. So, Carol, I don't know if Joanne's going to be able to hear you. I'll try to kind of translate
I
if
can
I
finally
can.
hear Carol now for some reason.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
good. So,
Can you hear
Carol,
me now?
are you still in one or do you have two?
I have 3 shelving units, but they're all at the same place. One of them is just very basic, a bookcase. Really, that's it. The other 2 have a lot more personality. The one is glass shelves, and it has 2 drawers that I can fill with treasures for people to dig in. And then I also have the top and the back. I can put those little suction cups on. I can hang a boatload of stuff on the back. And then it's on a ramp, so they have to come by it either way. And then the other one is glass shelves. And then my husband built a standing pegboard so I can put my mugs on. And I've expanded to a couple other things there too as well.
Now, I loved your little, I've used that, when I saw that her husband built her a little pegboard stand and she put all her mugs on little S hooks or the little hooks for the pegboard. And I did borrow that. I'm not going to lie. So, because there's only so much shelf space that you have. And
Right.
Dolores will tell you, I fancy a mug. Or an odd teacup. And now Dolores apparently fancies them because I've got 2 boxes of stuff to mail her today. But that was such a cool idea. And it was really eye catching because all the different colors and, she had really very bright colors. She had some cartoon like comic characters and things and that. So it was very, very eye catching. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to use that. So I did borrow that.
Right when you walk in that door, I call it the white room. That's what we call it down there. You see my rack of mugs so that it stands out. And I've had a slump in mugs and now it's picked up again. So I don't know about you all, but I've noticed mugs are seasonal for some reason, but they've picked up again. And I'm so glad because I have so many.
Well, Carol gets her stuff for a quarter. I mean, I have never seen anybody get so much for a quarter in my life. So
mugs are 50 cents now at Hartville Thrift. They used to be 30 cents, but they've raised their prices.
Like $1.99 here.
Oh yeah, they can be $2.99 at Goodwill. For us, $2.99, $3.99.
Easily.
I was at a garage sale yesterday, and I don't know if y'all know I collect smiley face everything.
Oh yeah.
And I saw this smiley face mug, and this guy's garage was kind of like an antique booth in itself. And he was asking everybody, "What do you want to pay?" And I said, "For the mug,
30 cents,
quarter." And he said, "Oh, well, I was thinking more like $1." And I said, "Oh, no." And then he had a real nice etched glass box. And I said, "How about $1?" And he said, "Well, I was thinking more like $2." And I said, I was thinking, I really could sell that smiley face mug for $5 or $6 because I already have it. So I said, "Okay, I'll give you $1 for the mug." And $2 for the, but Hartville Thrift has really spoiled me.
Yeah.
I'm not used to paying regular prices.
Well, that and your garage sales. So I'm not a garage seller. I have a thing of I have a thing about walking up to someone's house and going through their stuff. I just can't. It's hard for me to do. But you watch Carol, Devon, she will sit there and be like, "Oh, I was at a garage sale." And Cheryl from Shiny Squirrel, she does it too. She was like, "Oh, this was in the free box." I'm like, "The free box?"
Yes, I do find a lot of my merch in the free box. A lot of people just walk right by the free box. That's where I go first.
Yeah.
You have to check it out.
Oh gosh. My mom is saying Carol is the 25 version of 50 Cent. Order. If you watch her video, I was laughing one day because she was like, "Oh, well, I paid up for this one. I paid $1." I turned around to look and I was like, that would have been like $8 here. So that was pretty funny. But you do really great at your garage sales. At your garage sales, you do really, really well. Now, Joanne does really, really well at her. There's a nonprofit thrift, kind of like the bins.
Yes. Yeah.
She does really well there.
I think she left to go to the bins.
Yeah, I think she sent me a message that said she would be right back.
Yeah, she was shopping.
Yeah, she had an idea. She had to go fix something in her booth. But no, she goes to something that's the equivalent of the bins for Goodwill, but I think it's a nonprofit organization. And the stuff that she gets out of there, oh my gosh, like Pier 1, and she got some other, and I'm just like, what? The only thing I'm not going to lie, because I just went to the binge, y'all. I got to record 2 different hauls. I just found a handmade quilt, and I was like, is this handmade? But yeah, when I get it home, and of course it stays outside in a bag for so many hours in the heat, and then it comes straight into the laundry. And when I was doing the laundry and I had dried it, washed it and dried it, the tag saying who made it in 1994 through 1995 was in there. And it's like what is it, an 80 by a 94 handmade little summer topper quilt.
Yeah, I like that.
But I did get that at the bins. But Pam, do you remember it was the time that you and me and Vicky went to the Goodwill bins? We were about to walk, which is totally different. Their bins is different than ours. We have those blue bins that are about waist high that you dig through. Not this one. They had big old boxes where they just cut the top of the boxes off.
Yeah.
And Pam and I are like diving into the
Yes.
boxes, digging
Which
through
is
stuff.
which is why I don't like the bins.
Well,
Your
she comes
whole body has to go in it.
I look and I'm like, well, and we can't lose my stepmom Vicky because she's just a wee. She's only like 5'1". So if we leave her in there, she's a goner. I'm the one with the height. So I look over and I'm like, where is Pam? Where is Pam? She comes up, y'all. She's got a spun head tree topper for Christmas.
Yes.
Remember
Lord.
that? She
Yes.
did. Yeah. So
good.
I was like, oh my gosh, she found some of the great things, but we were about to leave. And I always look, I'm one of those, I just want the little stuff. So I looked in the corner and there was a pink, it was a Venetian, remember that bud vase? It's pink glass, and
Yes.
it's got gold gilding on it. And it was light as a feather, but it was really tall. That was some kind of fancy Venetian pink glass. God bless you. And that thing sold for $50-something.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that it survived.
Yeah,
in
that's
the
what I was
It's
gonna
not broken or cracked or anything. Yeah, Cheryl broke her rib trying to get into the bins because she's only like, I guess Cheryl's 4'11". She's shorter
Tiny.
than you, Dolores. She's little.
Yeah.
She's teeny. And she was trying to reach something across that bin, and she cracked her rib trying to get.
I did
Crazy.
that. I bruised mine. And let me tell you, a bruise is bad enough. The pain
Yeah.
is
Cracked
excruciating.
rib is.
So a
Yeah.
broken rib, I can't imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were
I was
just
reaching
talking
over
about
a bin and I heard
what
it
was what's
crunch.
the name of the That's what she said. She heard a crunch.
Yeah.
What's the name of the place that's like the bins that you thrift and get
Durham
such?
Rescue Mission.
Yeah,
Yeah, the outlet.
that might be worth the trip, Pam.
Oh,
We
not
might need
anymore.
to. We could
I
take a
am
road
very
trip,
sorry to
Beth.
say, not anymore. It used to be fantastic. And unfortunately now the hard goods are, which they only have about 3 or 4, if you're lucky, of the large blue bins like you were talking about, Beth. And they're plastic. It's all plastics now. The majority of what they put out are clothes and sometimes shoes, sometimes bags. But I'm sad to say it has gone. I used to love going there every Saturday. I would try to be first in line. Now, if I get there, I get there.
I think I remember it when you were going. It was outside in tents,
Yes, that's where they
and then
started.
it moved inside to a building. So
Yeah.
I think, is it in? I wonder if Bree and them are still here, either in Arizona, Oklahoma, or something like that. When you go to the bins, they actually have the rolling metal carts
Oh yeah.
that they're not like digging bins. They have some digging bins, but a lot of their stuff is in the metal carts. Yeah, LaDonna went to the Goodwill bins called the Outlet. I don't know why, but and found Fenton Christmas trees in the bottom that were not broken.
Whoa.
I mean, how does that happen? It's crazy.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I did find a bunch of good stuff this time, and Shelly and I went. And we both said we were really grateful we weren't trying to do our $10 thrift challenge at the bins because I spent $55 and she spent $67.
Oh,
The bins where
yeah.
books are 3 for $1 and stuff is like $1.19 a pound. How does that even happen? You just walk away
It
with
adds up.
$55.
That's a
You're
lot.
thinking, oh, it only costs a couple of cents, but it adds up.
And
It
the
does.
stuff that you find with price tags still on it. Brand new price tags still on it.
Well, I mean, when
So-
you have 3 carts, Beth, you're going to pay. How many carts?
At one point, I was like, this is ridiculous. I am ridiculous. So I went over to the side, took everything out because I couldn't get a thing else in there. And I did, this time I remembered to have Shelly bring me a 2-gallon or gallon size Ziploc bag because I was looking for littles. and put them in the bag, because otherwise there's nowhere to put them. So
Yeah.
if you're going to the bins and you're looking for the littles or something like that, number one, take your own bags, but take a Ziploc. You can throw all those littles in there. Same with your books and stuff. Yeah, she's like details, but I took everything out, and then we shop for each other. So I'm like, Shelly, I got this. This was for you. Do you want it? And she will, yes or no. But we ran across 2 bins full of Halloween, just
Oh,
Ooh,
full of Halloween. And I was like, thank God Dolores is not here. I'm already mailing her 3 boxes back to the UK from her trip, I guess, in February or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was just loaded with Halloween. So Dolores, where you had 3, do
Yes.
you just have 2 or 1 now? What's going on?
I had 3 different cases. 2 were in one antique shop and one was in the other. I got I moved out of the Balls Over one, which is by the castle. They've since ceased doing business. They've closed the whole entire place now. It's like closed down. Balls Over Antiques is closed down now. So I'd left before they closed down, but it was kind of like the writing was on the wall. It was, which is unusual because it is in a town center. It is by a castle.
Yeah, tourist
My Balls
attraction.
Over. You'd think that, but so I'm gonna explain why in a minute. So then I went to uh I found this auction place. Well, it's an antique store. Well, it's a massive, like a huge warehouse. And I went to the auction and I saw that they had glass cases, and so I asked about them, and they said, "Well, we charge £25 per case, no commission. The only thing we do is if there's a credit card charge, we take that
That's
out."
$25 basically.
Yeah, per per case. So I had started off with just one case and they're called Harrison's Antiques, and they're in Thurnscoe, which is in South Yorkshire. So it's like Barnsley, South Yorkshire, which is not it's like 45 minutes from me.
And they have
So
the best Instagram. Those guys
oh
know
well
how to work
here's
those Instagram.
well here's the thing. When I first started there, it was a one-story, like huge warehouse. Since I've been there, they built a mezzanine level. And now you take the stairs up and they have a cafe, they have bathrooms, they have every once a month they have an auction, they have an area for auctions. And that's the thing, they do a lot of social media. A
Yeah.
lot of social media. The guy, so it's family run. It's mom runs the cafe, which she has like help and stuff. She has like workers there as well. Dad and the three sons run and grandma's there, grandpa's there. Honey, the whole family is there. They just they threw an auntie in there. There's like that's a family run business. But the difference was he's so one of the sons is like in his mid-20s. Okay. And he is so good at social media. He does TikTok, he does Instagram, he does all the things. Where the other place, he didn't really do a lot of social media except for Facebook. Like he'd post a couple of things on Facebook now and again. That was it. But this guy is hot on it every day.
And they're
Several,
funny.
and they're so funny. Yeah. So because they've expanded and added a second floor, there's more vendors. So like I said, I pay 50 for both cabinets. I pay £50 a month. So each cabinet is 25, and they're not close to each other. I have one here on this row, and it's like, so when you walk in, it's rows and rows and rows of cabinets. Then you walk further on, and that's where the booths start. So it goes like in a U shape. Then you go upstairs, which is beautiful staircase. You go up there, and it's massive. They've got so many booths. I think they have over 200 booths. It's
Wow.
massive. And I don't know, I can't remember how much the booth rental was. I think it was 200 a month, £200 a month. Again, they don't take commission. The only thing they charge you is for the credit card charges. If there's someone paying with a credit card. If they pay cash, it's all yours.
But it's like shooting fish in a barrel, because they are also an auction house. So
they're
at
also
least
an
once
auction
a
house.
month, you're getting a whole group of people coming in for auction. And what do you
Right.
do when you want something that's number 25 on the list and or number 200 on the list and they're only number 25? They're shopping.
They're walking
They're going
around.
through the booths, they're looking
Yeah.
at the cases. So it is a brilliant business outline
And
because you are
yeah.
literally have a captured audience. And if you're waiting, if you're waiting on number 200 and you're like only on number 25, well, guess what? You can get a little snack and
Mhm.
eat and shop until the time comes up. So
Yeah.
an auction house with a vintage place is just to
Yeah.
me,
Antique. Yeah.
and then they add the food. I could live there.
What's their Instagram?
Harrison's Antiques.
Yeah, and he's
Find
really,
it.
really
Yeah.
good.
So, and also, they've also started talking to tour operators that go through South, because like you're talking Yorkshire, South Yorkshire, that goes to the Peak District. That's like the gateway to the Peak District. So you're talking, and that's also going towards Manchester, going towards, Leeds and all that.
Looks
So,
like this, Pam.
Okay,
they're in
with
the
an
middle.
H.
They're literally in the middle of nowhere. They're in a tiny village called Thurnscoe, and
Foreign.
you on any given weekend, that car park is packed. People is parking on the street to get into that to Harrison's. So what they've started doing is kind of coordinating with because we have a lot of coach holidays here. When I say coach, I mean like a bus. So they call them coaches, like a Greyhound bus or a tourist bus would be called a coach. So you have a lot of coach holidays here where people go from down south in Suffolk up to Yorkshire, because it's for they'll spend days going around the country on these coaches. So what they've done is they've uh, contacted these tour groups and said, hey, why don't you make Harrison's Antiques one of your stops? There's a
Mm.
place for your bus. We've got a big enough parking lot. We've got a cafe. We've got bathrooms. It would be so they've done that. So they have tour buses now going
That took
through.
that whole thrifting bus idea that was in the meme to a whole
Yeah,
nother level, which I think is brilliant.
yeah.
I think that it is absolutely brilliant.
And the thing is, you go there, and even though it's a massive place, and it feels like a really welcoming family. Like there's nothing they can't do enough for you. They will help you. It's very, very customer oriented, and as well as booth rental and cabinet rental people, they can't do enough for you. They're just like, do you need help? What do you need? What do you need us to do you need us to bring this in for you? Very, very it's a really great place to go. And that I think that's what happened with Balls Over. They didn't do or couldn't or wouldn't or whatever do with what these people are doing. And so it's just, and also this place used to be some kind of warehouse, some kind of industrial situation. So, and then they've just turned it into this. You walk in and you look at the outside, looks like just a big gray building. You walk in and it's like a magical mystery tour. It is amazing. I love it.
So
Mystery tour.
So that place does have booths, and you and I have been talking. What is I really think Dolores could do well with a booth, but Dolores, if so, we're going to do two things. If you're thinking about a booth, so ladies, start
Right.
thinking about this because Dolores is thinking about taking on a booth. We've talked about rent and commission and wall space and fixtures. So Dolores, you're already paying £50, $50
Yeah.
kind of ish in US money. Um, Booths are 200,
Hmm.
right? But you
Right.
are going to almost quadruple your space, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Because surface space.
Right.
All right. So what keeps you from going
Okay.
forward with getting a booth?
So what keeps me going? So I'm like I said, and to be fair, staging cabinets is hard. It's hard. Each so it's a glass cabinet, right, next to other cabinets, and you've got to do something to make your cabinet stand out. Obviously, I put stuff on top, and then I do real cute little like almost like each shelving unit's like a little diorama. So you're like this
Yeah.
is you know, so like it's hard enough doing a booth, but it's also hard doing a space like this, but.
Because you're confined, you're limited.
Right, right. The only thing that keeps me from uh doing going forth with a big booth is the fact that I have no way to take furniture to this place. I don't have a truck. I don't have a car big enough. So then the discussion, well, me and my husband. I have two cars. One's kind of like an SUV, still not big enough to carry, like I could carry medium sized furniture, like maybe, like a cabinet that comes apart, or like a footstool, but like shelving would be difficult. So I have an old car, which is a Kia, and it's about time she was put to rest. She needs to go to the scrap heap in the sky. She's getting to that point. So now I'm thinking about getting a little white van. So when I say little white van, they're different than y'all's vans. We have the big vans like you have, but these little white vans are kind of like what we call transit vans. So they're smaller, and I ain't rent a car for all that, girl. Why just going to put the cost up? I mean, I could rent a car. I could rent a truck, but the thing is, even if I have two cars. They're just not big enough. And even if I got a rental car, it's very hard to rent. I mean, I could rent a van. To be fair, I could rent a van. I could rent a van.
Yeah.
We do have
Because
vans
I'm
around here.
thinking, I said, what about a U-Haul, or get a truck? And she goes, first of all, we don't have a truck here. It's not a thing. I mean, they do, but it's not a thing,
Yeah, you
right?
have to
And
rent it.
then,
Yeah, and it's like a big van. So, which is fine. That's not a problem. So since I'm going to have to replace the Kia at some point. I thought, why don't I just get a white van, a white transit
yeah,
van? I, I'm, going to be the one driving it. Well, I mean, Dave's going to drive. I'm going to drive. I drive his car because his car is really super nice. And so, and I thought, well, if I'm going to go ahead and make this investment in a booth, why not make the investment I need a different car anyway. That's a given. So why don't I just invest in a transit van? So now we're looking at transit van.
she asked me about it, and I was like, let me tell you something. I don't have a car that can't live in. It's got to be
Right,
big
yeah,
enough where if
yeah,
I see a piece of furniture on the road, that I
yeah,
can
That's
just
right.
whoop, put it in, pop
That's right.
that
yeah.
hatchback, slide it in, and go. And
Yep.
at the end of the day, it's got to be big enough to live in.
But
So
here's the other thing though. If there is a space available at Harrison's, they go quick. Like there's
you got
probably
to
a
put your
waiting
name on the
list.
waiting list.
Yeah, I have to put it on a waiting list.
I was on a waiting list for KT, and it's kind of like, if you're ever been at a school or a job where the secretary, they don't quit, they die, right? They retire or something,
Yeah,
and then that person moves, that job is taken immediately. It's like the PE coach
yeah,
or anything like that. It's a dime a dozen, and so you got to wait until your number comes up, and you got to be able to like give them the first month's rent and be
yeah,
ready to move in
absolutely.
at a dime's notice.
And that's the thing.
So,
I don't want to put myself forward and then go, okay, yeah, you've got it. How the hell am I going to get everything?
well, that's
But
why things
I could,
was
like,
up
I
in
could,
my garage forever because I was waiting,
yeah,
and
yeah,
now
yeah.
I've refilled it with
I mean, I
other
have
stuff
stuff right
waiting.
here, right here. I could take today if they called me, if I had my, but it's like, how do I get it there? But I could find a way to get it there, like initially. Um, but also, if I bought my furniture at the auction, I can just take it across to the top because they sell furniture at the
True.
auction.
You're there. You're shopping there. My mom says, Dolo, everything
Uh,
is hard. Do it anyway.
oh yeah, no, it's not that it's not. It's yeah, it's good. It's not as hard. It's just logistically, I need to get. I feel like I need to. Well, I mean, I can just put my name on a list and see what happens. You know what? Throw
And
caution to the
once you
wind.
have
Put
your
my
name
name
on
on
the
it.
list,
Yeah,
right?
What's your name?
Then you start. Then you start working. Oh, I'm going to get. I see this cabinet for 15 pounds or 10 pounds. Yes. Um, so yeah, hold on. Bree said, Beth, last week you suggested I give my case in Tempe 3 months. Unfortunately, they opened June 1st during the Arizona off season. I had 3 sales my first weekend and then nothing, only $73 per month. Yeah, I'm still gonna go. Ladies, y'all chime in. I'm still gonna go with the idea of 3 months. It takes people 3 months
yeah,
to know that you're
yeah,
even in the shop.
Yeah.
But this is a new shop and she has a case. So they always say you got to spend money to make money. Hence why we source, because you got to spend money to make money. So Pam, how long do you think if you're in a new space, right? How long do you think to give it?
I agree. Give it 3 months because typically June June is a slow month for a
June is
lot of
right.
places in the country because children are out of school, people are taking vacations, they're not roaming through antique shops as much as they're at the beach. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe if you were in a touristy area, but like this is a slow month. Okay? Give it time.
July is going to be, and August is going to be busy with everybody going back to school. But come
Mhm.
September, when all these holidays start,
Mm-hmm.
and then January is gonna go down again.
Um, Vicky, I'm probably not gonna do a live sale again. It's just so much. It,
You don't
it
like the package.
I don't like to pack. I don't like shipping. I mean, I'm slow with everything I do. When I tell you, if I have to make a YouTube video, it takes me all day. That's why I really like the shorts, and
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But I probably
Now
won't
they're
do any
3
more sales.
minutes.
But thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Now those shorts have been extended to 3 minutes, which is a good amount of time.
Yeah, I can do even up to 3 minutes, but I'm telling you, that 10-minute video, it would take me like hours. I don't
Yeah.
want to do it.
It takes an
Joanne, how
hour
long do you
to
think?
Well, I'm not sure because when I started at Antiques at Gresham Lake and when I had my booth at Main Street, you were locked into a contract. Main
Oh,
Street was 6 months, and then it went month to month.
yeah. My first was like
Antiques
that.
at Gresham Lake was 4 months, and then you go month to month. But I kind of agree with the 3 months. You have to give it. It's not going to happen overnight, that's for sure. And you're going to
Yeah.
have slow times, and you're going to have times where it's like, woohoo, this is great. I think for me, there's probably more slow times than woo, this is great.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
I enjoy it, so I'm going to keep going. But at least 3 months, people have to realize that you're there. They have to learn what kind of things you kind of consistently put in your booth. You
Yeah.
have to build a following, kind of.
Yeah.
Now, Main Street, I eventually, after 6 months, I was out. Sadly, I lost month. I lost money every month I was there.
Yeah.
That's
So
hard.
yeah, yeah. So that was not a good move for me.
Mm-hmm.
Antiques at Gresham Lake has been very good to me. I can't complain.
Now, I will say that I ran into the contract thing. I forgot about a booth that I was in. So I started in one, then her husband in down in Wharton on Milam Street, and I just had a little corner. But I did well, except her husband got a job and they packed up and moved and closed the shop. And I was like, oh my God. And that's when I found Glen Flora, which is a county, like a little county over in the same vicinity, but just county line. And then I went and found a shelving unit. It was one 5 shelf shelving unit that wasn't even 6 foot tall. It was $50 a month with a 6 month contract. And I said, I will do it for 6 months. But if I'm not making a profit, and it was buried, that first of all, that place was so packed that I thought it was a fire hazard, right? And I love
Yeah.
to do, but it was just so packed you couldn't walk through. And there was no staging. And again, like Dolores was talking about, they were not promoting their shop. So they didn't have somebody like Pam who was going out and doing the social media, which is the key. It is the key.
It is.
And so I was like, I told her, I said, I'm leaving. At month 4, I said, I'm going to finish out my contract, but I'm leaving because I'm just not making money. And I'm a business person. This is a business for me. This is an income stream. And so I'm going to tell you now, if I'm not making income, I'm not going to just be here to fill up your booth. Right. So I was paying a monthly fee and a commission, and I had Anna had that contract. So she found me a larger space. Well, it was a larger space and that was great. But again, everything was so buried
So
that you were worried about walking by something and weren't able to look. And I finished it out, but I wasn't making money. And I had already started putting my name on the list at KT, which is far for me. That's 45 minutes. So one of my booths is an hour away and one of my booths is 45 minutes away.
Wow.
Because they just don't have any in as so I live in what's probably like the size of Columbia or I don't know if I would say as big as Charlotte. But you know, it's a larger area, and I'm a burb outside of Houston, but there's not an antique shop here. There's not one. There's a lot of people that will travel, but we have old country that's a little bit outside of our city limits. So people, that's a day trip. You go to Buc-ee's, you know, go shopping with the girls, all the things. So I started looking, and Katy, Texas is booming right now. And there's a whole street where there's multiple shops. It's a little destination. You can get you something to eat, all the things. It's real old town. And so I started putting my name on the list there. Neither one of mine are contracts at this time. And again, I pay for one. I don't pay for the other because I do 30% commission. I do a contract. I mean, I do a rent fee and 10% at the other one. And I will say the one where Katy, it is so busy that the people that work there, this is because Shelly and I go back and forth on this all the time. It's great that you have really big sales. First of all, she's got two big spaces. And now she's moved up closer to the front. She's made it so wide open and beautiful. And she's got a gamut between Pyrex and Tupperware. And then on the other side, she's got pop culture, t-shirts, records, LPs are hot right now. I don't know. I know Joanne has talked about that a little bit in her videos, but LPs, they're hot.
Yeah,
So
they are.
they are really hot right now, and that's a bread and butter for her. That's $15 a pop all day long, and she sold $150 to one person in one day. So
Wow.
just because she has very good taste in her records. And so mine is a little bit older school. She's more of the 70s, 80s, like in late 60s, 70s to 80s, where I love the 30s, 40s, 50s, kind of 60s stuff. I love the old schools, the real old school stuff. The pretties, you know, that's what I love. But we talk about this a lot, that she works a lot. She works off her booth rent. So she now has two booths. One of the things about that shop is it started with a bunch of people who have been there for a long time. So they don't do per square footage, price per square footage, which an average is $1 per square foot or $1.50 per square foot. That's an average. If you talk about data, the data that I have looked at is about a dollar to $1.50 per square foot. But when you have a place that people have been in since it opened, they started, and then as they dwindled down or people added, then they started saying, hey, we can get this much. So equitably, it's not equitable across the board. You pay more to be upfront. That's just a given. So just know that if you want to be at the front of the store, if you want to be on a corner, if you want to be on an edge, that's going to cost you more money if you're looking into getting to be a booth space. The bigger the space, the more the money, all the things. But you know, I like the idea of everybody pays the same thing per square footage. Then you look at the other hand that we've talked about, and Shelly and I have talked about it. Well, what is the square footage if you only have one wall or no walls and you have three walls? So I have an art dealer who could only get in a cabinet. So I had all these walls. They were empty, and he just had beautiful art just stacked up. Well, nobody was seeing his art, and my walls were empty. So I said, here's what we're going to do. I need some of your art to make this look like a livable space. And then he was like, well, I don't feel right if I sell. And he was selling it faster than we could put it up because people were seeing the art. And I was making vignettes out of it, and having the art spawn, you know, to spawn off of it. And he was like, I'm going to give you a percentage. Well, one whole month I made booth rent because of his art and my percentage
Wow.
that I got from his art. Since then, I have learned get your own art, right? Duh.
Yeah.
So I started getting, but I had a wall. I have 3 walls. He
Yeah.
did not at the time and still doesn't. The space has not come available for walls. So you have to think about that in determining, you kind of can't look at it as a period point blank square footage, a price per square footage, because are you on a corner with that square footage? Do you have wall space with that square footage? Where are you in the shop with that square footage? So there's a lot of things
Yeah.
to think about. Carol, how long would you say? Do you say 3 months, 6 months? What do you think?
I didn't start really catching on till a year, but I would say minimum 6 months because unfortunately, and it may be this way everywhere, I don't know, but where I am, you start out in the back and it's all about location, I found.
Yeah.
Then they moved me up to the front in a place where when I moved there, that door was an entrance and then they locked it and it was only an exit. So that didn't work out either at all. And so I had a talk with the owner one day. And then the third move, I got in a nicer area. And that's when things started to change. So
Yeah.
I never, I don't think I ever didn't make my rent. But I work one day a month, so my rent is not high. But uh, it just was a thing. Also, not only the location was a big thing, but I had to figure out this is not the type of thing that sells. This is the type of thing that sells,
Yeah.
and also working there one day a month allowed me to see what were people asking for, what were they looking for,
Yep.
and so eventually I caught on to location, big deal, and then when I
Trends.
trends, and then also I think we've talked about before, but if you have more than one location and you can split it up a little bit, then if things don't sell at the one booth, you can move it over to the other one. But if I would have given up after 3 months, I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have even had any idea what was going on there.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, and I say the same thing about the benefit of being able to work. Dolores and I both work full time.
Yeah.
So we have a Monday through Friday. I work 7 to 4. And so I'm also creating YouTube content on top of trying to source. And it's a lot. When you are a reseller, you are sourcing, you are cleaning, you are comping, you are pricing, you're fixing, and then you're hauling it off somewhere. So time is not on your side if you are not retired. And you have a vintage space. If you can work there, and Shelly and I talk a lot about these because she does work there, and she's the niche. She already had her niche. She is the Pyrex, she's the Tupperware, and the LP lady. They know where to go in that booth to see what she's had, and there are repeat and loyal customers to her. Somebody I could have Tupperware in my booth, it will not sell because she's the Tupperware lady, right? I can have Pyrex in my booth. I have a beautiful Cinderella chip and dip blue with gold with the original stand that's been in my booth forever. I told her, I said, let's do a little experiment. Put it in your booth and see if it'll sell. I've had it for a year and it's not sold. But and likewise, so I'm always telling her, if I need something from the art guy, I need a piece to go with this. And then Shelly, put this in your booth, and she might have one and it still sells. Mine and hers both sell. That's a Tupperware egg plate is what I can think of right now. But if you work a shop, you are watching what people are buying. Number one, you're eating off your booth rent. So your profit margin is higher. That's number one. Number two, you're able to see the trend. Okay, so I went in and I started selling, I can't remember what it was. I think it was ephemera. And next thing I knew, everybody had ephemera in their booth, right? One girl was selling I can't remember. The art was another. When I sold Mr. Eric's art, then everybody was saying, "Hey, I got a wall space. I got a wall space." So they're watching what sells, and they will literally go and find that, because if they're first in the show, if they're first in the shop, or if they're in the first shop areas where there's this store is really big, whose are they going to see first if that's what they're looking for? Old clocks, watches, that kind of stuff. It is location, and it's about watching the trend. So if you do have the ability to work in your shop, to either work off your booth or whatever, I highly recommend that you do that, because you're going to see what is selling right at that moment.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of, and you can promote on your own social media, because I promote Glen Flora all the time, and she might share it out on her channel, or she'll do something and I'll share it out on mine. KT does a great job of promoting too. So social media, even mentioning places in your YouTube videos, if you do YouTube or Instagram or whatever, just mentioning it, and people will come. I've had people, and they say, "Oh, I shopped, KT, or I shopped Glen Flora." And, the lady at Glen Flora, she's so funny, because she's like, "Yeah, they said they knew you from somewhere."
She's so funny.
So promotion is good. And
Mhm.
definitely, Joanne, do you get to work at yours?
Nope.
And do they offer it though? Because a lot of places don't offer it.
No, they don't offer it.
Yeah, Glen Flora, she doesn't want anybody working but her, but
Yeah.
it's her shop. She's had it for 30 something years. And KT, it's the people that started, and they work there. So Carol, you work in yours. Pam, you work in yours. Dolores,
Yes.
you don't work in yours.
Mm-mm.
So if you were only going to get a glass case, if you're only going to get a glass case, because I know that LaDonna asked this a long time ago, and we were talking about other stuff. What's something that, if you're looking at a glass case or a spot, what are some questions that you guys would have want to want to ask if you were new to this? What would you tell somebody to ask if they were going in to acquire about a glass case or a space?
The location of the glass case.
Yeah.
Where is this going to be? Because where my glass case is, like I said, when you walk into Harrison's, it's that's the first thing you get to is the glass cases. Before you get anywhere else, it's the glass cases, rows and rows. And I say the rows, but there's great walkways between the two. It's like this. It is so
It's
perfect. But huh?
it's dense with glass cases.
It's dense, yeah. And so you have to do I want it in the end, and they're no more money if you have it at the end of the middle or the whatever. They're all the same price. So where the case is located, and if the lighting's good, where your case is going to be, because ain't no worse than having all your beautiful stuff in a dark area. You know,
Are these cases, Dolores? Are your cases locked?
yes, they're locked.
Okay.
So each case has its number. So when you do your like your little ticket on your item that you put in, you put on like the price, what it is, and then you put your cabinet number on.
Yeah.
And then that's why there's so many of them milling around, because people are constantly going, can you open cabinet this? People are
Okay.
shy here about asking to open a cabinet, because those guys
Because
are
it's
on the
more
shop.
common.
Yeah, it's more common. And the brothers are ready, and the family is ready they're standing around going, you need a key number, which key you need, and they'll come and get it. It's like popping.
Gotcha.
So there's not like you're having to find somebody to come and open a case. They're there waiting to open those cases for you. They're like bam, 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 bam,
Mm,
bam.
that's
So,
nice.
so where it's located, what kind of lighting you have, how
Lighting is,
lighting is super important. Their lighting is so bright in there, like
yeah.
it's so good. Um, Also, you have to be mindful of what size stuff you put in there, 'cause it's-
Can't put a swung vase like Joanne found the other day. Was it Carol or Joanne found a swung vase?
Yeah,
Carol found
Carol.
Carol
like a
found a
yeah.
beautiful swung vase.
Mhm.
That's not going to fit in your glass case.
Right.
No.
Now you can put stuff on top of your glass case, because we can put stuff on top. Yeah.
But see, I start saying people break stuff all the time, and you're just
Yeah.
gonna have to get over that
Yeah.
because
You
people broke stuff. It
people.
wears
I mean,
me
I've
out. I'm
never,
like,
to be
stop
fair, I've never had
manhandling
anything
the stuff.
broken. I've
Right.
never had anything broken on top of my case. So, um, you also, what's the price? How much, you know, how much is the commission if they take commission? Uh, Also, here's my advice to anybody. So I live 45 minutes from Thurnsco. I go once a month, either replenish it, move it around, swap from one case to another and change the ticket
Yep.
numbers and swap, because some people start from the back and some people start from the front. So sometimes they'll go past my first one, or they'll go past the cases and then go around the antique store, then come and look at the cases. So then they're starting at the back. So I'll swap stuff from case to case. Always try to make it clean your windows of your case. Don't let them get out, because people touch the glass. So they're gonna get
They're
all
like, oh, that's
smudgy.
pretty.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, look at that. And then you're like, let me get my little Windex out. You know, always keep your shelves clean, because glass shows everything. It goes up and
Dust,
down. So
dust.
I'll take everything out and give it a good, and it's my case. So it's not theirs. They're not going to take all my stuff out and clean my case. But while I'm changing stuff and moving stuff around, I have my Windex and my little cloth, and I'll be cleaning it. Make it look nice. You can run sales if you want. We can run
I need,
sales. They don't care. They're like, yeah, put a sign inside your case and run a sale, if you want. So, but I think it and if stuff isn't moving, don't just keep it in there. Swap it around, move it, because you'll go pack cases and it'll be there. Things will be in there for months. I'm like,
Yeah.
listen,
take
Linda,
it
you need
out
a
and bring
family.
it back at a different season.
Right,
That
exactly.
I do.
So,
I'm very seasonal with mine too.
right. So I'll take stuff out, bring it home. If it don't sell there, I'll put it on Etsy or eBay. I'll just list it. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like,
another thing. That's different. Anybody else do Etsy or eBay besides Dolores? No,
no.
I work. LaDonna and Cheryl and I talk about this all the time. LaDonna works, right? She's a full-time
Yeah,
and she's on YouTube but she doesn't have a booth, but she lists Etsy,
yes,
eBay, all these places. That whole taking pictures and writing a description, and it's the IT piece and the calculated shipping and all that. I'm like Pam on that. I'm like, no. I'm not doing that. I don't have the patience to do that. I can barely get promoted what I need to get promoted. Although it would do, I think it's beneficial. And Dolores has said the same thing to me. The jewelry, the ephemera that you have, that easy to pack stuff, that easy to photograph, put it on eBay or Etsy. And I'm like, girl, not one more thing on my plate. Not right now.
well,
Maybe
that's
later.
not, yeah. I mean, it's a lot, because that's why I kind of pulled back on the YouTube, because I was like, I've got to get all this stuff listed, and it's just fine buying it and showing it to everybody. Look at what I bought. But also now I've got to do something with it. Either put it in
Yeah.
my booth space or my cabinet space, or photograph it and list it and then put it. So that's where I kind of had to pull back on YouTube a little bit and go, look, and I work full time. So,
Well, her big thing was this, and this is the truth about YouTube. Not that you're going
yes.
to get rich on YouTube. People that say you get rich on YouTube, they're lying.
Uh,
They have other people that work for them, all the things. But you can be monetized and make
right.
money based on your number of subscribers, your views, and your engagement. All of that is true, but you have to put out content to continue to get paid. The more
Yes.
content you put out, the more your ability to get a check goes up. There's a lot of things they don't tell you about getting paid on
Right.
YouTube, and I will dish it all because I did YouTube as an outlet for me to find like-minded people, and it's fun for me. When
Right.
it's not fun, I
That's
don't do it anymore.
Right.
Dolores,
that's
she had a conversation with me and she said, here's the deal. My channel's not monetized yet. So why would I spend time making videos and editing and recording and all of the things when I could put that same time into eBay and Etsy and get a check immediately within 10 minutes of an item selling, or I could get my money right now. I can put the same amount of effort and get twice the return. That's when it kind of dawned on me that if
yeah.
your channel is not monetized yet, keep going. But like Pam. Pam has a big channel. I think your channel is relatively large, Pam. But when you stop making content, you stop getting the same level of paycheck
Yeah.
And
from.
you lose your monetization. I have. I
Oh, you
have.
do
Right.
it?
Mhm. Yeah, I lost
You're
it.
kidding.
So
How does that work?
how
Yeah.
did you lose monetization because you didn't have so many views in a certain 365?
Yeah, you have to have a certain amount of views and
4,000 views in 365 days. Yeah.
I
correct.
didn't know
And I
that.
don't have that. But, I could get monetized again just on shorts. I have to have 10 million views.
Oh, Jesus.
10 million. I'm at 7.1K right now. And I mean,
Oh, keep working. I just felt like for me, I was making content, and I
yeah,
was like, you know what? I,
Hey, Angie.
this is taking all my time when I could be doing this over here,
yeah.
which I know is going to make me money because it has and it does.
Hmm.
So I had to make a decision, and that decision. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed doing it, but when it got to the point where I'm working full time, then I got
Yeah.
the moved to house. I got the two. I've got cabinets now. I've got to go. I have to find time to do all this, and it's like LaDonna just says she had to take a break. There's so much to list. She needed to take a break. Yeah, and
You
that's
can't
just
hold a conversation with LaDonna even on Marco Polo. If y'all know, that's like a face, it's like a pre-recorded little text is what I call it, without hearing a cha-ching go off in the
yeah,
background. It's like she makes money constantly because of eBay and Etsy, but
that's it,
she
right.
spends her time listing that stuff.
Yes, and
So,
that's it.
Carol, what do you think would be a question that somebody that's interested in getting into the vintage booth? What would be a question that you would ask, knowing what you know now?
I think what I would recommend is not necessarily a question to the owners, but I would go into the store at different times of the day, different days of the week, and observe. Just shop around, see how the owners are treating people, see how the customers are taken care of or not. And then, specifically, along with the locked booths, are people asking for keys or do they just bypass that because I don't want to be bothered with that? That can be an issue. I'm glad it's not an issue for you, Dolores, because
Right.
there's so many of them. It's the natural thing there.
Yeah.
But in some shops, that's not the norm.
Right.
And people don't really, they're not that interested if it's locked up.
I
I
won't.
booth
I
rates.
I used to not until I started going to Harrison's. Now I'll be like, can you open that? Can you open that? Can you open that?
Yeah.
Because you'll get sale items and I'll resell them. And so
Mhm. Yeah, right. There's a booth to the left of me right now. I think it's by the owner, but I had never seen one bit of action on that booth
right.
the 4 years I was there, and it was a locked case. It was just like mine, except it was locked.
Yeah.
I ditto along with the lighting. There's a booth at Majestic that has absolutely no lighting coming into it, and people don't even stop and look at it.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. Um, and then, you can just get a feel for a place. If you like to shop there and you feel welcome and you feel like they have good customer service, then you're going to know that you're going to have a good experience there, most likely. But I would ask a lot of questions about the credit card fees for sure and the commission. And then if there's any notice you would need to give if you decide not to do it any longer, what is that expectation going to be? So those are just the main things that I could think of. But walk around and don't just go into a place and say, oh, this looks like a nice place. I'll have a booth here. You need to do your homework.
Yeah.
What do you think, Joanne?
I would ask to see the contract and be able to read that over. I would ask, for instance, some booth or some malls have Christmas 365. Ours do not. Mine does not. you can bring it in on a certain day, and then it has to be out by a certain day. So ask like what kind of restrictions they might have.
That's a good point.
Do they have any restrictions on what you can actually put into your booth? Like, just an example, does the clothing have to be vintage, or can it be more contemporary as well? The location of the mall itself, I think, is a really big factor. How easy is it to get in, or is it difficult? My
Okay.
mall is actually kind of difficult. You have to make a U-turn to get into it. What times are they closed? Like, do they
Yeah.
close for all of the major holidays, or are they open? Main Street used to close unless it's like Christmas or Thanksgiving or New Year's. Gresham Lake is open. What kind of social media promotions do they do? Do they run anything, or is that totally up to you to do? Mine does it on Instagram. They don't do it themselves. They hire somebody. But what I have noticed is that the pictures that they're putting up, because sometimes I get lucky enough to be chosen for that, it's old stuff. It's like weeks old. And some of the things that they're showing, luckily, have been sold.
Yeah.
I would see what feel you get off of the owners or the people that work there. I guess, do you get a good feeling from them? Or if you don't, kind of like listen to your instincts. I love Carol's idea about going there at different times, see what the traffic is like. And like she said, how do the people that are working there, how do they treat their customers? Gosh, I mean, I suppose I could go on and on, but those are some of the things that pop into my head.
Pam, what do you think? I mean, you're the social media person for your booth, and you've now been in two, and they're very different. Your places are very different.
Yes.
So what do you think that what do you wish you would have asked?
When I started, what
Hmm.
I wish I would have asked. Oh God.
Or what advice would you give? Because we've got a couple of people. LaDonna's thinking about a booth, right?
Yeah.
Or a glass case. I'm a big fan of a booth because I'm about creating a vignette. I want you to see the whole picture
Yeah.
because I'll be honest that for me, what works for me most of the time is if they see a whole thing, they're going to
Mhm.
buy more than one piece to create
Yeah.
that same image. Right? It's kind of like when you go to a furniture store and they stage the way that it looks. They don't buy the couch. They want the couch and the two things, and they might even buy that table and all the things. It's a perfect example. I'll tell you something that just happened to me today. Well, it happened yesterday. I went in and had this picture, and I do this all the time. It's so stupid, but I stage over this picture. It was a beautiful. Y'all would have seen it here on a chat. It's a beautiful landscape, oil on canvas, lots of different colors, very rainbow in color. So I put all rainbow different colors of glass and all these things. Right. And then at Father's Day, I did this Father's Day and it had the cards of the guy, old cabinet cards and tackle boxes and watches and all the things. Well, yesterday, that large picture that was the focal center point of my whole display sold. Now, I paid less than $8 for it. It sold for $80+. I'm good with that. However, now that whole display sucks wind because there's a big
Big
spot in the
hole.
Yeah.
middle. So that's something to think about. But I will say, when I have paired items to create that vignette for Father's Day, I sold multiple things from that same vignette because people get the image of
Hmm.
that. And so I know that you've got different things. You went from a booth to a wall. How
Hmm.
did you make the determination and tell us like what you would have thought about them? Because if you would have thought about it or known a little bit about the shop, would you have started with just a wall
Well, I think I started with a shelf, to be honest with you.
in that same
And
shop?
in B&L Antiques, I started with a shelf, and and I was talked into putting the Pokemon card. This is weird. I had mostly, like my other space, antique things. Started with the Pokemon cards because my husband was like, "You got all these Pokemon cards you want." I go, it went an auction or something. I don't know how it came about. So I decided to put them in there. That was what was moving.
I
Okay.
remember when you first put them in and you were sprinkling them in and we're like, can't believe they're selling.
Yeah. So trying different things and thinking outside of the box, really, because I never would have guessed that's something I could sell. Um, and it turned out to be a hit. And then I started thinking, oh well, I can get littlest pet shops or whatever, all the stuff that you can get at yard sales. You know what I'm saying? You can get on the cheap. It's amazing. So keep your mind open. Don't just get boxed in on, well, it has to be vintage or it has to be this. Um, that's just something that I've learned with going from a shelf. Then I went to a big booth, and when I went to a bigger booth, I still had a lot of vintage decor, things like that. None of that moved in this particular shop. It was back to the Pokemons, the toys, all that stuff. In this particular shop, would that work in another shop? It wouldn't work in my other store. So know your space, know, learn about the people that are coming to shop there. I've noticed that we have a lot of older couples that come in there. You know, they're retired, they've probably gone to Sam's Club, got their prescriptions, you
Ah,
know, and they're taking a stroll around the antique shop before they go to Chick-fil-A. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Cater to your
Carol, she's
people.
like, yeah.
Cater
Yeah.
to cater to your clientele. And
Yeah.
I know that in B&L, I do know that during the week there are a lot of the older people that come in, but they have a very large clientele of young families, the youth, 20 something year olds, all these people that want these, still want the toys, still want Pokemon cards and Magic Gathering, all those cards. I've just put in a pack of tarot cards and,
Oh,
all that
that.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So know your clientele. That's kind of basic. And take data, look at
Yeah.
what your trends are. What are you selling? Because it saved me a lot of money realizing, oh, I'm just, selling Pokemon cards and things to the youth. I'm not really selling Fenton glass because this lady over here has all the Fenton glass. So, kind of look and see, well, what is their need of, and then look at your clientele. That's how I've been successful.
Mom says, because she's weighing in, mom says, in summary, you have to be flexible and focus on and focus on as far as inventory that everything changes.
Yes.
What sold for you last year is not going to sell. Here's a perfect example. I have had My Little Ponies, which I don't even know where I got them. I probably got them 3-4 years ago. I have sold 4 My Little Ponies. One of them was $40 in the last week.
Yeah.
Wow.
4 My Little Ponies. Now,
Yes.
one was 20, one was 40, another was 18, and My Little Ponies that I've had for 4 years. So my data, okay, because I like to do this and resell. I'm very much about 2 quick nickels over a slow dime any day. I'm about fast turn because if you can turn me my money and I'm at anywhere between 3 and 100 and something percent profit, times whatever it is, because,
Yeah.
I bought a bag of 136 pieces of travel ephemera. They were 7 cents. They ended up to be a 7 cents a piece. I sold one map for $110.
Oh my
One map. And it was a bag full of stuff.
Crazy.
Shelly and I were like, what? And that man did not bat an eye to pay for it. He was like, let me keep looking, but pay her for that. I was like, Okie dokie. So you have to, I have a little bit of everything. I have ephemera, I have toys, I have everything because I don't really know. I'm not in the shop. I can't take data. I can only take data on what I sell. And
Mhm.
I have, for me, a plate on a stand, whether it has a dog with a dachshund with a sun hat and a lei, or if it is a Limoges plate, those Bradford Exchange plates, they fly off the shelf for me at
So
15
weird.
to $40.
It was weird. Yeah.
So weird, so weird, right? I would have never been like,
Yeah.
okay,
Some
but
Bradford
some
place.
things that sell
I know.
from do not sell for somebody who also has them in their booth,
Mm,
right? So for the data that I can collect is not about what's selling in my in the shop because I'm not there enough. If I had to ask somebody about going into a shop, and these are the questions that I had. I work full time. When can I come and redo my booth? When can I do so and so? And she immediately told me, you cannot bring furniture in on a Friday, on a Saturday or Sunday. You
Yeah.
can come the last 30 minutes on a Saturday or a Sunday, but those are our busiest days or Friday night.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can see if somebody can let you in or stays extra or whatever. But, and if you are there, you know, I have a cart or whatever. They have a cart that you can use. One of the biggest things is do not block the aisle because my booth is small. 10 by 10 is small when, especially when you get furniture in, it then becomes like an 8 by 8, you know? Um, and people are, even though you're in there, I can go on Saturdays because I work Monday through Friday. They close at 5 o'clock. They're open from 10 to 5. I cannot get off of work and drive there and have any time to do anything. So when can I come in and set up? When can I come and work in my space? When can I bring in furniture? When can I do all these things? When I do come in, like they don't want you in the in the walkway, right? So you have to have my cart full of things. I've learned bring one box in at a time, work that box, fill the other stuff. So I'm making 40 trips back and forth
yeah.
to the car because I can only go in when I can go in. Now in
Yeah.
the summer, I went in on a Monday. They don't care. I can bring a whole cart because it's not as busy,
Busy.
right? So questions that I would ask, is there a contract? What, of course, is my rent? Where am I going to be? The first thing I did was paint my space. My space is got the 3 walls and there's only opening towards, and it's kind of towards the back of one area. So it's dark and they had it painted. I don't know why everybody paints it that mustard yellow color, but that mustard
Because
yellow
it's
paint
cheap.
for it is the way to go, right?
Don't do
So
orange.
the first thing I did was paint everything white.
Right. Yeah.
I painted it stark white. And that's what I did before. And I even put a little piece while it was drying. New vendor coming soon. Come back and check it. I put a little ribbon. It was all cute, vintagey cut out. And then I started bringing stuff in to let them kind of see. And then because that's when I could come. I mean, I'm moving furniture by
Yeah.
myself here, people. I gotta bring it in when I can get it in. But when can I work in my space would be one of the things. And I had all this furniture, and quite honestly, it some of it doesn't work in my space. Just because you have that furniture doesn't mean that it's going to work in your space because it can't come out into the way.
Mhm.
So you got to make sure that everything fits within your lined up space. Another thing that I would ask is, we've got some things that don't meet vintage by industry standard definition. So vintage, 20 years or older, true vintage, 25 years or older, then it goes into antiques. But there are some things that complement vintage that you might want to put in there. Do they allow that? Is it a true vintage? Um, place, or will they work on that 80-20 rule where 80% of your stuff is vintage and 20% of it may be closer to contemporary? Uh, with going in and knowing your space, like Pam said, and visiting, like Carol and Joanne said, do people have Temu things in their booth?
Yeah.
is everything new, right? So there are lots of vintage inspired things that are not vintage that people are buying from Temu or Shein or whatever it is they're buying for. And that is, for me personally, that's a big turnoff. I do not want to go into a booth that has things from Temu in it, because I'm here for an antique or a vintage shop. Now, does that mean that some of your decorations can't be, your floral picks, all that? No, that's not what I'm talking about. But don't buy keychains or ornaments or buy things that are vintage inspired, repros, reprops, if you will, and then sell them as if they're vintage. To me, that's not vintage, and that's a thing, especially when you get into the retro kind of feel. um, y- you will see a lot of people bringing in um, things that look like vintage, or they're repops of vintage. But if they're working on that 80/20, that's great. But if your whole booth is that and you're trying to sell that as vintage, it is not. There's no reason to put $24 price tag on something from Temu.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
that's
Don't do that.
and sell it as vintage. Um, Mr. L. Page, hello, good morning, says if a high percentage of your clientele are the same, they may need to move on. They already bought that. So yeah, you have to cater to anybody that's a first timer, anybody coming in with somebody new. So like clothing, like Joanne brought up clothing. Do all of your clothing have to be vintage? And just remember that when you wore it in 2099, when you were teaching, it's vintage by industry standards.
Yeah.
So all those little cute, yeah, or Dollar Tree, right, Bree? I mean, there's things that I have picked over in people's booth that literally says Walmart and Dollar Tree on them.
Mhm.
It blows my mind. But that's some of the policing of the actual store. That to
Yeah.
me, if you own that shop, you need to be checking people's booths. Um, when it begins to look like a garage sale or a car boot, then you gonna have to say you got to clean up your space. You're not meeting the standards of our shop, or you gonna have to move on. But that's me, and I don't own that shop. I am responsible for those three little half walls that I have, and that's it. But the vintage clothing, people are like, oh, that's not vintage, honey. It's marked 1995. That's a vintage. I know you still wear it because all of us teachers still wear it, but it's vintage by industry standards. And I will say that the ugly Christmas sweater and the old cardigans and all of the theme like or seasonal kind of sweaters and cardigans, those flew all out of my booth last year. Ugly
Oh,
sweaters,
that's good
ugly
to know.
vintage ugly sweaters flew out of my booth last year. And any of those with those teacher like, or what is the name of the lady that had all this? I just bought a whole bunch from an estate sale. So those are things that sell. Look at Kiwi.
Oh,
Pretty good at my booth. Pam said she was surprised by the Pokemon cards.
Mhm.
What is something, Joanne, that sells in your booth that you're surprised of, a trend that you've noticed?
Diane.
um, actually, the clothing, the vintage clothes.
Yeah.
I started it out just on a fluke. Let me go ahead and see what happens. And it turns out now that I'm one of there's myself and another vendor. We're the top two clothes sellers in the mall. Yay! Thank you. So now I gravitate toward that. But that kind of took me by surprise.
Yeah. Carol, what surprised you?
Anything strawberry shortcake,
Oh,
and I sell candle snuffers all day long.
Oh, cool.
I
oh,
buy them a lot.
Really well in my booth, and I thought, okay. I mean, decorative, or you think people are using them?
The candle snuffers, I don't know. They can just be plain brass with no special thing on them. They might just sit it by their candle for decor. I actually use mine, but I found a beautiful one the other day with a butterfly and leaves all down it. It's like
oh.
filigree. Is that the word? Beautiful.
Filigree, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I found them with
But brass does well anyway. Brass is always a seller.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. I have a whole list of stuff I wrote down of stuff that was selling. I figured you might ask.
Yeah, what else sells? Hey, Miss Paper Blanchard.
Right now, owls, brass, candle
Mhm.
snuffers. I already said that. Strawberry items too, as well as strawberry shortcake.
Summertime.
Frogs, mini oil lamps, not the big
Yes,
ones, just the mini ones.
yes, they sold for me too.
Butterflies, Rubik's Cube, anything, keychain, crocheted, regular. They also get stolen.
Oh.
Trinket boxes, mugs are back for me now. Viking glass, Fenton, and cats. Anything cats.
Cats, yeah.
Cats. Cats is a seller that I'm so intrigued that these mini oil lamps are selling. I mean, I cannot, if I get one, it's gone.
Me
And
too.
it does, even if it doesn't work, it's
Right.
still selling.
Can I tell you guys? So I've been on TikTok, right?
Mhm.
The big trend with these young girls is the blue-bowed goose.
It's coming
For
back.
real. For real. Okay.
I cannot believe it. The blue-bowed goose, anything country, like wooden shelves with little hearts.
Oh my God.
Country
I
corner.
mean, they are just, it's crazy.
Wow. 90s.
Didn't we like all live through that? Just
And they call it country core.
They
They
yeah.
call it country core.
country core, grandma core, they're calling it
Grandma
all
core.
that.
Granny
Yeah.
core, yeah.
And now,
So, am I looking for that right now? Yes.
your
Absolutely.
TikTok
Also, some girls,
Hmm.
where I live, I've talked to young girls, and they are interested in ducks, like mallards. Um, that's a big thing also here, decorating their home with like woodland ducks.
yeah.
Ceramic, wooden, whatever, but the ducks, duck decor is also
So
big.
one of the things with the geese is they are now doing especially little boys' birthdays when they're younger. Silly goose is the theme, and they're
Yeah.
using that blue-bowed goose. They have it on cakes, they have it on cupcakes, but it's called Silly Goose is the theme for especially
Yeah.
a little boy's birthday. And
Yeah.
it's the white goose with the blue bow, and it's all over trending with that. So
It's big on
whole
TikTok,
90s,
y'all.
yeah.
It's coming. It's coming.
Mind blown.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Bree said her 30-year-old daughter has all blue bow geese in her kitchen. And it's they used to make fun of Nicole Northgarden. Do you remember the no, not
Yes.
Nicole Northgarden.
No.
It was
Yeah.
I
I
know
know
oh
what
who
you're talking about.
the Nester. Hey, Nesters. What?
Yes.
yes,
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Nesting Haven.
Nesting Haven.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she was all about those blue bow geese, and she kept saying, "Now you know they have yellow bows too.
Mhm.
They have yellow bow goose as well, and they are using that. So they're Nesting Haven also did a stoneware plate wall, all those old stoneware, and it is
Mhm.
beautiful. Um, but that blue-bowed geese, the yellow-bowed geese, all of that is coming back, and now they even have this new, like I said, the new little boy. It's called Silly Goose. If you do hashtag Silly Goose, you will see all of that. And they're calling it a country core, and
Country
then
core.
grandma core is more of like your pearls and your lacy stuff and your your trinket dishes and your vanity sets and all of
Yeah.
those kinds of things.
A little bit more romantic, in my opinion. But listen, also, the homestead pattern back on the stoneware dishes. It
Yeah.
had the little there's like 3 little houses, like a blue, a pink.
With the full
That
hearts
is
on
Hearts.
big, y'all. I'm telling
hearthware,
you,
home and hearthware or something like that. It was a little
it
cottage.
Yeah, I think it's called Heartland or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
that's the trend. Now it was big and then it disappeared and then it comes back. A lot of the 80s, 90s, even 2000s, any of those toys. It was 50s, 60s toys and now it's at 80, 90s, 2000. That Rubik's Cube, that the
Yeah.
even the Funko Pop things, they're still popular and all the stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Hmm.
But it's surprising. Now that's in the US. Dolores, what's selling in the UK?
So right now, oddly enough, glass insulators from the United States.
And we can't give them away.
Yeah, they went over
I
there.
I sell. Yeah, that's where I brought them all back. Um,
She did. I got a
that
whole box of them to ship.
Wow.
well, I managed to bring some back, but they go like that. I can't keep them in stock. Planters, and I don't mean like the cute little like tiny. I mean like planters, like for plants for little plants outside. So those, because I had a couple of big ones, they've gone. And wall pockets, any kind of wall pocket doesn't
Wall
matter.
pockets always sell for her. Now they're a hard sell for me. I don't know about anybody else, but they're a really hard sell.
Hard
Yeah,
sell for me too. I have two
Yeah.
in my booth right now. Nobody's
yeah, wall
wanting
pockets.
Oh
I
my
think
gosh,
probably.
you say Hannah Montana, Rugrats, and Nickelodeon. I told a Nickelodeon, no, it was a Rugrats, big mug, 20 something dollars, and that kid did not hesitate to
it.
pick it.
Wow.
It's
Big yellow
crazy.
Rugrat.
I think because a lot of our outside weather isn't great, so a lot of people have indoor plants. That's where wall pockets come in. So that's probably
Yeah,
why I
that
sell
makes
them.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes
How are
sense.
y'all today, Fat Birds? We're talking about
Oh,
being a
hi.
booth. When being a booth vendor, I know y'all got Layman's and everything else. I think that's Laura. I'm not sure, but her mom runs Layman's. They have their own store, and they sell live here on YouTube as well as Etsy and eBay and all the things. So that's what we're talking about, Laura. The trends in our vintage spaces. Um, and we're just about to finish up. But does anybody have any questions while we start closing out? I know that we've had a couple of people who are interested. We're trying to get Dolores in a booth, but again, she has to be able to work that. She
Yeah.
does have to be able to work that, and I'm going to tell you, with working full time, and I do have the two spaces. You need a lot of inventory.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know about y'all, but a booth is a lot of inventory. And
Yeah.
like I said, when your focal point sells, you got to revamp everything.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I mean, really, Bree, if it's not working yet, first of all, y'all are a brand new store. That this is a brand new
Right.
store for Bree. She does have just a case, so she is limited about the size and the things, but what are people shopping for if it's not? So I have, and I love it's a gamut, but I love the old, like the 30s, 40s, 50s, early 60s stuff. um but sometimes I'll branch out. I don't do glass very much, but if I do glass, it sells. So what I may not like, other people who are shopping like. And that's something you have to remember. When you
Yeah.
shop, you buy what you like. When I source, I buy what I like. Am I going to look at Nickelodeon's Rugrats and Hannah Montana? No, I don't know anything about that. I've never had any interest in that. I wasn't. Now, if there's a Roadrunner, because I used to love a Roadrunner, or something like that, it's gonna get my attention. I love ephemera, but I don't have a way to display it. So what do I have? A bunch of ephemera. I have to sneeze on them. So you just have to know what you shop for may not be what the people shopping your booth are shopping
Okay.
for, and then you're going to be stuck with a bunch of stuff you love, and then you got to do something with it. So how do y'all, one final question before we go, y'all? Thank y'all so much for being here today. Don't forget, Pam is Kiwi's Collectibles on Facebook and Instagram. She is here on YouTube. She's doing some shorts. Joanne is Bat Thrift Crazy. And what? Oh,
Tick,
TikTok.
tick, tick, TikTok. Same
The
name.
the TikToks.
Yeah,
The
I got my
TikTok.
husband wants to retire. So I
So
got to make
TikTok
money.
is Thrifty's going to retire off your TikTok. Go for it.
It'll be a long
Sure,
time.
go for it.
It'll be a long time. It's a long time
Um,
coming.
Joanne is Bat Thrift Crazy on all those platforms. My Blessed Nest, that's Carol. And Carol, I know you have Instagram and YouTube. Do you also have Facebook?
No, I'm considering after listening to you guys though to do that.
I do have a business page
Yeah,
of
Do it.
Facebook.
I do it.
I've
Do
got
it.
a couple of viewers from that and a lot of people, but I do want whatever goes. I have my Instagram, so whatever goes on an Instagram post or an Instagram story is also sent to Facebook because it was so difficult to do. Yeah, monetizing on TikTok is hard. I'm too old for
Yes,
TikTok too, but I told her, I said, just put it
I
on
do.
YouTube or put it on Instagram so I can see it.
I'll
Um,
show you. Yeah. Mhm.
she said I can barely manage Instagram, but I'm going to
Mhm.
tell you that social media is absolutely the way to go. Dolores is Miss Dam Jewelry here on YouTube. Right now, it's Instagram, which is Dam Jewelry UK. That's also where her Etsy and eBay's. I think I have linked everything down below. Now, I don't know what Kiwi's Collectibles is on TikTok because, girl, I can't do no TikTok.
Kiwi's
I
Collectibles.
I'm
Keys
too
Collectibles.
old.
Keeping it
I'm
keeping
too
it
old
simple.
for that. But one final question before we go, y'all. What are your thoughts on seasonal? Like how early are you gonna put out? Well, don't ask Dolores how early she's gonna put out fall and Halloween. But when so 4th of
Tomorrow.
July is in my shop right now. Does anybody else have 4th of July Americana?
I do.
So Pam, do you do seasonal or you don't you just do
I do Christmas. Even when I do fall, I don't really get a lot of sales. So I really just do Christmas. I'll put some springy bunnies out, you know. I don't sell well for seasonal. I just don't. Christmas, yeah, I do pretty good.
Yeah,
That's it.
Christmas was I was at that shop every week. That was my first Christmas, and now I
Yeah.
know what to expect. So I got in October. October will be
Hmm.
1 year. And I've made my rent, but when I hit Christmas, girl, I luckily Shelly was there and she would be like, "Oh, your booth is you need more. You need more." And I was like, "I don't have anything else." Well, now
Yeah.
now I got 17 buckets of Christmas
Oh
Yes.
my
out
gosh.
there.
You got to have
Not
the
really,
Christmas.
but a lot because if you're doing two spaces and two different shops, right? The bonus
Yep.
is I kind of switch a little bit because they're two
Hmm.
different groups of people. I got old country people and these new kids that want to do the vintage look and all this stuff. So, and then YouTube here, you have to have a tremendous amount of inventory because just having enough to fill it up. And I say this every time I do a video. And next Sunday, there's going to be a booth update. I know that Joanne and I had talked about this. I had started doing some showing my booths, videos about showing my booth. And I even did a video when I went to Kiwi when I to see Pam, and I did one on Kiwi's Collectibles in her two spaces. I was like, let me show you around Kiwi's booth. Um, but I do booth updates on my channel because one, I find people who watch my videos will say, "Hey, did you sell that?"
Hmm.
And I have sold more things from my hauls and from my videos of my spaces than sometimes I would when they're just sitting there. I'm just putting more eyes on it. Now, my channel is small. I only have 3,000. I would like to go. My goal is 5. My goal is 5 before I die, but I wanted to have 5,000. I have lofty goals, y'all. I have lofty goals. But I figured if people are going to watch, they can see what I have. So next Sunday at 11, I'm going to have a video where I have gone in and moved some things and like taken everything out, move furniture out, put new furniture in. I go to the other booth. Now I'm back at this one and back at both booths. So you kind of see like several weeks of me updating the booth, what sold, what holes, and all the things about cleaning your booth. I mean, I had to clean cobwebs and spider webs and dirt and all that kind of stuff. And you do have to clean, but that's going to be posting next week. Since we did this chat this time, I thought I would do a booth update. But I know that Joanne, you've gone in and done a couple little booth shots, and Carol usually says, "Let me show you where I put this in my booth," which is really fun. And I like the way that you do that, Carol. You go in and you're like, "Oh, I bought this. Let me show you where I'm going to put it in my booth," or "Let me end the video with a shot of my space at such and such." So, just more eyes on it. A little short, Pam, get you them 10 million views. A little short of your
Yeah,
booth.
yeah. I
Wow.
mean, listen, I just checked my latest. I'm at 10K, y'all. 10K. I gotta go to
10,000 on your shorts.
10K valid public shorts views in the last 90 days. But I gotta make 10 million. I gotta get that number.
Right.
It's a
To be
Well, you're going
long way to
to every time you go in, just do a little short. And that's
go.
why I did the little collab. We're going to talk about that too. But um, the little collab that I did was hashtag show off your vintage 25. That's for
Yeah.
your boots. That's for your decor at home. That's for anything that you find. So if you do a little short and do the hashtag show off your vintage 25, it'll start getting a bunch of people's connected. Um,
Yes.
so you can go in and show how you stage some of your new stuff, your retro stuff. They have a bunch of different shorts. Wait, what does they say? It says monetizing on TikTok is hard, and they hate show up. They hate show up on people. Oh,
They
have
have
shown
shown up on people's recommendations.
recommended. So
Yeah.
yeah, Joanne, do you do seasonal or you just try to do
Um,
vintage?
I do seasonal fall, Christmas, and then after Christmas, because we have a cutoff of when we have to have things at Christmas out of the booth, then I'll move into like spring. But I don't do really holidays. Like St. Patrick's Day, 4th of July, Labor Day. I don't do that kind of stuff.
Carol, what about you?
I do all the seasons, but I think I'm not going to be as much because mostly what sells is Christmas and fall. Halloween, if I can get it.
Oh, yeah, Halloween. Yeah.
Spring isn't a big seller for me, and I've gone whole hog, and then
Mhm.
it just sits. So I'm going to cut
Yes.
back and
I
focus
agree.
on, the big holidays. There are
Dolores,
Christmas and Halloween.
what about you?
I do fall or autumn,
That's
Halloween,
like
and
it.
Christmas. That's it really. I those are the only holidays I do.
Well, I will say that I try to do holiday. Like I do a little Father's Day, a little Mother's Day, but it's kind of like the manly things,
Right.
right? It's still like vintage, but it's manly things. Like I had cabinet cards of, 1800s cabinet cards of men or servicemen and women or whatever, and I put those around, and I've sold them. I mean, I got a whole bunch of them, and I ended up selling them for like $3 to $5 a piece, depending on condition. Halloween, I'm guessing I need to put that in a little bit earlier, but I don't like to go from Halloween to Christmas. I want Thanksgiving. I think people forget about Thanksgiving. So I try to do Thanksgiving and fall. So what's next for you, Pam? I mean, what is your concentration going to be? 10 million
Well,
on TikTok.
I'm concentrating. Well, I'm continuing with my booths. Everything's good with that. And I'm just going to continue to work on my TikTok. So when I make a TikTok, I share it to Facebook,
Yeah.
to Instagram, and then to YouTube. So I'm going to just continue that and make my little 1 minutes and hopefully eventually get monetized
So
again
that Thrifty can retire.
so that he
That's what
can
I call her
retire.
husband.
Yes.
That's what I call her husband, Thrifty, because I could not remember for the life of me the name of a store, even though it was literally printed right behind me when
Yeah.
we went thrifting one time. So that's how he got his nickname.
Yeah.
Joanne, what's next for you?
Do you
What are you
mean
going
with
to concentrate on your booth?
in the booth? Concentrate probably on clothes because I do love picking them up and they do really well for me and I'm kind of low on them right now. So initially that would be my concentration, vintage clothing.
Carol?
I'm just going to keep selling what I'm selling, trying to notice trends, what's selling. And then I want to be more proactive on Instagram and doing the Facebook for my company, for my YouTube channel rather, and just promoting it more.
Do you think do you have any wish to go from wall space or shelf space to an actual booth, or you like your
I really, really do. Right now, I don't know if you guys know, I've been having trouble with allergies. They took me off my shots and I can't even step foot in my booth. So Mr. My Blessed Nest has been handling all that for me.
Oh, that's
He's so good.
He is amazing. I
He's
got
good.
back on shots last week. So I'm hopeful. And Mom passed away in April. So that would free me up to be able to do something more at my booth if I could breathe down there. So that may be in my future. And I also might dip my feet in trying to sell, like have a sale on my channel. I don't know.
Oh,
well, come on over. You know, I'll let you come on
yes.
over. You can sell on my channel with me just to see how it goes. With
Yeah.
Pam, with that she saw how it went and she was like, "I'm not doing this." The packaging and invoicing. Now, I have noticed that y'all started doing the same thing. If you see something that you're interested in your video, which I've said that forever because tell me now before I truck it all the way to the shop and then you see it in a video about my shop and I have to call the shop and see if it's there and then truck an hour and then an hour. So tell me now because, hey, everything that comes in is cleaned and inventory and priced. So it's just a matter of time before it goes to the shop. I have actually learned that YouTube wants to have several people who cannot travel here, right? They want to have an opportunity to buy things that I have.
Yes.
And so I sell a lot from my hauls. From my hauls, I sell a lot. Probably
good.
as much as I do from a live sale. And then the second thing, live sales are probably third because it's from my hauls or from the replay of my live sale. I will get an email, and that's why I say send me a picture and then email me right here. And I noticed that, you started offering that. I was wondering if anybody had taken you up on that. Have you sold anything from you?
Yes. I have 2 packages right now waiting on payment. And I've noticed from putting the slower videos in that my husband does when he's down there, he's really good at, taking it. I'm just like, here's the booth. He's like, here's the booth. And I've been getting more sales.
Oh,
That's good.
Showing my booth. Like I said, Dolores knows Trish well, the lady who owns, and she had such a dry sense of humor. And I'll say, Dolores said, "Hey," and she was like, "Hey" to Dolores. Like she goes right back to working. But she'll say, "Yeah." She told me one time, I was like, "Hey, so and so said they stopped in." Yeah, they told me they knew you from somewhere.
She's great.
I love her. She's the best. She's the best, but that dry sense of humor. So, Joanne, have you tried any of the offering from your haul videos? I know you used to sell on lives anyway.
I've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of rare that I gratefully can say that it's kind of rare that I'll have a haul video where I don't sell something.
Yeah.
So it's definitely been working out.
Yeah. People love to see what you can get in your area.
Yeah.
Now, Loris, she's not doing the hauls as much now, and I'm talking for you, but she's not doing the hauls as much now. But I know that even paying the shipping from the UK, people, when she was doing live sales, because she offered a bundle, you would get like 6 things. So the only way that I have, this is the very only way that I have lucite candles. I'm not Pam over here who got a whole box of lucite candles for $7.
Oh my God.
Hold on.
And I said to her, she was at a live sale and she goes, "Well, I think I'm going to put these lucite candles, I guess, at about $12. I said, "No, you're not."
I found these not too long ago.
Oh, those are pretty.
I
Oh.
found one in the
They
wild.
were
Never.
in a store. I'm sorry. I thought about you, Beth. I saw them in the
She
store.
thought about how you didn't find them.
Sorry, not sorry.
Right.
Yeah, so I went to Maryland with my friend.
Oh,
Mhm.
Ooh. My husband's telling me I'm too loud. So I
Oh.
went to Maryland with my friend, and we thrifted all the way there while we were there and all the way back. And I found these on the road trip.
yeah.
Wow.
So yeah.
But I will never forget when she said, "Oh, I found some of those loose light candles. I got all of these in a box for $7." And there were like
Yeah.
4 pair.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Are you serious? And she
Yeah.
was like, I don't know, maybe like $12. I said, mm-mm. We were doing a live sale. I said, do you know any, like, you can't get them.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to find
Underwear.
one in Goodwill one day or just anywhere at this point. I'm going to find one. But I had to buy mine from the UK and pay the shipping because that was the only, but I got those candlesticks, a glass powder jar.
Mhm.
Oh God, Dolores, I got a brooch or two
Yeah.
and something
Really
else.
good price.
It was,
Yeah.
by the time you did what I paid for it plus shipping, the price was like $5 per item.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, it was cheaper for me to buy it from Dolores than buy a loose light candle at an antique shop. So,
From Pam.
or and I guess she can find it, but you know what? That's fine because before I was early to go meet her the last time that I was in town.
Yeah.
And, I was like, I think there's a Goodwill around here. So I put it in GPS. I went to this Goodwill and I found a fairy lamp. And she was so mad at me because I shopped her Goodwill. And I was like,
I got my fairy lamp.
I found one yesterday or the day before at a garage sale. I could not believe it. $2.
Oh my
"Bitch,
God.
I'm
I
Yay.
asked if they would take
$2.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Say she paid $2.
Pardon?
You paid $2, right?
Yeah,
I'm
it's
surprised it wasn't a quarter.
it was blue, and it has like white around the bottom. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's hobnail.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it Fenton?
Yes, I
Fenton.
would imagine. Did anybody else make them? I don't know.
Yeah.
Did they?
The hobnail. So
The
is it encased or painted?
It's not painted. It's just glass, but that it has a white something or other around the base. It's coming soon to a video near you.
All right. Well, she said Cheryl got a $250 Wayne Husted piece from Goodwill, and that is a Blanco glass. And she was like that Husty. And the other, I found, what did I find? It was an amber cat. And I was like,
Yeah.
either it's a W or an M. I can't really see. Y'all, it is like one of the most hard to find Mosser glass
Yeah.
cats. And they're
Whoa.
like 280, 300 something dollars. And I was like, well, I mean, it's a cat. So I like glass.
I like cats. Oh.
So yeah, I have to run things by LaDonna and Dolores because, quite frankly, honestly, I'm learned so much, but I'm still so dingy about it. I'll be honest, I don't know a lot, but what I know, right? And I'm getting better at things. But I'll have to ask Dolores and LaDonna about anything, glass or whatever. And they're just rattling stuff off the top of their head. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I need to know, is this a yes pick up or don't pick it up? I just need to know. I can do the research and have the lesson when I get home, but
Yes.
after
Get it.
that, no. So yeah, I can't believe you paid a whole $2, Carol. Whew,
I know.
Paid
Yeah,
up for it.
I know. I was going to
Paid
say
up
she
for
paid up
it.
for it.
for Carol, that
She
is paying
did.
up.
She did.
Hey, let me just say this. Everybody made fun of me when I went to the auction and that lady's collection of 2,000 bells. She had 2,000 bells and they were doing them in lots. And I happened to buy a lot or 3 of bells. And everybody's like, why did you buy bells? Bells do not sell. What are you doing? Cheryl, Shelly was like, "Oh my God, why did you buy so many bells?" And I was like, "But they're pretty. Some of them are pretty." Well, y'all, there's a Fenton bell in there, $68. Boom, sold. Glass
Ooh,
hand painted bell. I only paid like 12 or $15 for the lot,
Yeah.
right? And I bought 3 lots. I every time I sell like 2 or 3 bells, I tell everybody, "Hey, I
An
sold 3
angel
bells."
gets its wings every time
That's
you sell
right.
a bell.
yeah,
Yes.
that's what I thought of too.
But I did. I bought bells, and I'm going to tell you, I have a theme set up. I'm going to do, the places you'll go, like travel, but except dummy me put the globe in the booth, knowing that globes sell super
Yeah.
fast. So I was going to have this globe and all these bells and pins and maps and just like a travel for summer. Well, the globe sold, and now I'm stuck with. I got to figure out a different way. So, well, y'all, this has been so much fun. I'm over here with my melted plastic Avon snowman. Oh, yeah, that's right. That goes for $25. Yeah, Avon surprises us, and Carol will tell you
Sometimes,
about
yeah.
that because she loves hers from Avon.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and you sell it too, don't you?
I do. Yeah, it surprises
Yeah,
me every time it sells.
it's like the bells. You just never know.
Yeah, but I
Never
love
know.
Avon. I love it.
Well,
Always.
thank you all so much for joining me today. This was really great. All of these ladies' information is linked below. And I want y'all to go and follow them. Please follow Pam on TikTok, y'all. If I had TikTok, I would do it. Make sure you're watching her short so that Thrifty can retire. We want him to be able to retire so that they can travel
Put
and
us
do
on the
all
prayer list. Put us on the prayer list.
the Sunday prayer list. Yeah. So I know that Joanne has frequent videos. Carol does a little bit better than I do too. They both have very frequent videos. Mine are once a week. I'm going to be traveling, so I'm going to have a little bit more. Kicking off with July the 3rd at 4:30 p.m. Central is going to start our $10 thrift challenge, y'all. It's getting pretty big, so I'm excited about that. But I'm asking that you go thrifting. Duh, we do that anyway. And see if you can spend just $10 or less. Tax does not count. Could be 10 euros. Miss Heidi just sent me one. She spent 10 euros. Dolores could spend 10 pounds. You can spend 10 yen, whatever your currency is, CAD dollars, whatever. Go thrifting. Carol should blow this out of the water with
Yes, she
25.
should. Exactly.
Yes.
Good. I already filmed
Yeah.
it.
And just
I'm
think, you
going to
could have won
Ohio.
the challenge with your $7 box of lucite candles.
Yeah.
You could have won it.
Yeah.
So I will say I have done mine,
Oh,
and y'all just have to wait and see that I may be redoing it. But anyway, I went thrifting. And try to spend just $10. Do a short, do a TikTok. I even added TikTok to my videos after I saw Pam was doing TikTok. I was like, oh, Kiwi's on TikTok. So
Right.
do a post, send a picture, do a video, do a short, do a reel, do a TikTok, do whatever. Tell us what you got and if you were able to spend just $10. Some people have done theirs and they were not successful in the challenge, but you always win when you go thrifting, y'all. You
right.
always win.
Mm.
So thanks so much. And until next time, y'all stay pretty and be sweet. Bye,
Thanks
y'all.
for
Thanks
hosting
so
Bye.
much for
again. Bye,
joining us
Thank you,
ladies.
today.
Bye,
Deb.
everybody.